Hey everybody, Taurean Smith here, formerly known as the Loud House Critic, as you guys might know me as. So here we are in another Loud House Critic Revisit episode. You know, when I was taking a look back at some of my Loud House Critic reviews from the first season when I started this back in 2018, there was one episode I said, you know, this episode I have to revisit because there was something I actually liked about it, but then when I watched it again, I kind of have some doubts about the episode now because honestly, I see more and more of the flaws about it. I get that some people actually like this episode for apparent reasons, which I'll get to, but to me, I kind of disinclude it now off my list. And with this being said, one of the boys, and don't think I'm actually going to do this little revisit alone. I actually brought a guest star with me.
Hi everybody, Andreas is back. I can't wait to talk about this episode. You ready?
Yep, here we go. So, one of the boys. So this actually begins with Lincoln actually doing so much boyish stuff and so much the girls disapprove about what he does. And he wishes that he would have brothers instead of sisters. And for some oddly reason, Lisa actually gives him an actual watch that will take him to a different dimension where he actually meets his own brothers, played by the four famous Ninja Turtles as you would have seen in 2012. I mean, you've got Leonardo as Laurie's male counterpart. You've got Raphael as Lenny's male counterpart. Michelangelo, of course, Luna's male counterpart, and the famous Rob Paulsen as Luann's male counterpart. And everybody else is still played by girls, even though they've done some boy voices before in different cartoons and Nickelodeon shows. So Lincoln much enjoys himself hanging out with his new brothers, because he only has 24 hours before he has to come back, otherwise he'd be stuck in that dimension. But the more and more time he spends time with them, this is where so much the mean-spirited actually starts coming in. And I don't know how else to put it so much, but he gets so much to torture as much as his sisters did to him back in his own dimension. The oddly thing that I found about this episode is when Lincoln actually travels to a different dimension, he's actually a girl. I mean, come the fuck on, people. This is still Lincoln in a wig. He didn't even change his voice to a girl type of voice, and his brothers feel so much nicer to him. Till then, this felt like the Butterfly 2.0, like we got another giant middle finger on this one. This turned out it was all in Lincoln's head, or apparently a dream. And so much, he feels so much better back at where he's with his sisters, again, etc., etc., etc. And you see how this goes. So, what do I think about this episode now? Well, let's just say, I like hearing Steph Green, I like hearing Rob Paulsen so much. So these guys, they were the best kind of Ninja Turtles there are. And hearing these voices as these guys, that's what I liked about the episode. But the actual downfall is, it's how the story is and how the way they treated Lincoln. It felt like I was watching a DreamWorks Chicken Little kind of feature on this kind of small screen. And as for this episode, I actually felt insulted when I actually watched it again, as it seemed to suggest that all boys are dirty, disorganized, etc. Case in point, while there was no line in the bathroom, it left in such crude condition. And to add insults to injuring Lincoln is subject to a swirly and a disgusting hairy-filled toilet. She's a chrome. Besides that, his brothers were jerks. They lack any positive traits that Lincoln's sisters possess. For instance, they mock Lincoln when he strained his thumb. They tease him about going out with Ronnie N. And they dogpile on him and perform a Loud House-style Dutch oven on him. The fact is that they were entirely empathetic towards Lincoln. Straining his thumb actually engaged me when I first saw it. True, Lincoln's sisters aren't perfect and can get carried away sometimes, but at the very least, they give a crap if Lincoln is actually hurt. Well, sometimes. Even it wasn't for the fact that they showed concerns for Lincoln as Linka, this would have gone down as some of my most hated characters of the series. And like I said, that's frickin' Lincoln wearing a wig and makeup, no girl performance, and I'm still ticked off about how some fan artists actually still see him as a girl. And yet they still continue that bullshit insects crap. But anyway, with that being said, there wasn't really much to like about the episode when watching it again. It started off humorously, but it spirals into the realm of dislike for me. One of the gems of this episode is Linka, Lincoln's female counterpart. She is revealed when Lincoln seemingly wakes up in the wrong dimension. That was legitimately funny. Well, to some people, but me, no. Besides that, nothing comes off as great as it is. As of this episode, I would choose to skip whenever it is on. What's the take on it, Andreas?
Well, I gotta agree with you because the first time I watched this, it was fun. But the minute I watched the second time, I realized these guys are jerks. I mean, come on. Dunking his head in the toilet, punching him in the arm because they woke him up, and scratching his coffin. Oh my god, it's like dealing with the mafia. But my point is, they could have done something to make the brothers a little bit different than the sisters than just making them their exact copies. Give them a little more identity. I mean, I get it that they're basically the same as the brothers. But honestly, they're not that much different. Even the sisters treat Lincoln like crap at times. But it's like it's saying that Lincoln should be happy with his sisters because his sisters are nicer and his brothers are jerks. I mean...
Okay, that is an offensive stereotype.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking there. It's like they're trying to say that Brothers for Lincoln is bad because they're jerks and mean and they just do horrible things to them. And the sisters are nicer to Lincoln because they love him and care about him and always concern and look after him.
Whoever that belongs to is gonna be the laughingstock of this house.
Yeah, they are literally worse than Lincoln. And he wears his underwear on the outside.
Go f*** yourself! Aww.
Yeah, have you seen what we've been through?
Oh yeah, I totally have seen so much. And another thing about this episode, I feel like this was the biggest sexist kind of episode I'd ever seen. Because if you notice how the beginning started off about how the girls, like I said, about the girls saying that they didn't like how the things how Lincoln did, but when the boys actually like what Lincoln does, like him eating pizza with his burger picking fingers, or how the way he belches, or when they say about that they're going to the mall, when they're going to Dairyland. Don't you think that sounded a bit too sexist about how girls feel about one thing and how boys feel about another thing, if you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and by the way, nobody uses their burger picking fingers. I don't think anybody actually picks their fingers anymore. I mean, what the hell? Why are we still using that? I mean, what is this, 1990?
I don't know. That's how some things were at the time. And you know, I don't know what it was that Chris Savina actually did, how he actually got the 4 main cast from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. In fact, let's talk about these guys, these 4 main stars.
There's Seth Green as Leo, Sean Astin, if you remember from The Goonies, as Raphael, Craig Sipes, as people would know a lot as Beast Boy, or Kevin 11 from the other Ben 10 series as Michelangelo, and of course Rob Paulson as Donatello. But it's not the first time he's played a Ninja Turtle. Anyway, I love these guys. I think they're the best versions of Ninja Turtles that we've had in years. I still like the 80s version of the Turtles, but I think the 2012 one is one of the best. And that was a great homage of putting those guys in this episode. And even with their performances, I don't think it kind of saves this episode.
No, I don't think so much of it either. I mean, even if they are great at what they do, they're not enough to actually save so much of it. I mean, they're good for voice talents, but the story itself is just a mess. Voice acting is great, the story not too well about it. And another thing I could actually say about it is that those guys ever stop to think that they're being a little too mean-spirited to the main character, like who they're talking to?
Yeah, and I get it. I feel like the story is very rushed, and I get it. It's hard to cram in that much time into an 11-minute episode, but honestly, I'm not blaming the writers or the directors, but honestly, I think this could have been a full-length special.
I would have loved that if that was the case.
I know, right? You could have got more than just... It would be a more well-taught story where Lincoln likes living with his brothers, he's getting used to, but then he starts to miss his sisters. He starts to miss how he loves being with them and whatever they did. And as much as he loves being with the guys, he misses his sisters more. I know it sounds sappy, but it would have been done so much better. And we would have gotten how the world works in that dimension, like who's girls and who's guys. And if Mr. Grouse is a woman. Actually, I don't want to think about that.
No, please don't. No, please don't. And yet, that comes to the biggest nitpick. Lisa with time traveling. Does that even exist these days? Because honestly, that's kind of hard to believe what she did in The Mad Scientist, and in this one, how the way it happened.
She dimension travels.
Which is kind of hard to actually say about this.
And you know what's funny? This all happened before Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah. I remember that movie so much. So were my real thoughts about the episode. I kind of don't give a rat's ass about this episode. It's just mean-spirited. I just wish the story could be so much better, and so much the guys would be a little much nicer to him. And that's no offense. How guys are always different from girls, from how the way we like to play it rough, how we like to roughhouse and do so much other kind of gross shit, while girls just like doing pretty things and getting the nails done and like doing so much of the shopping. Sorry, no offense out there. I'm just stating the real true facts about us.
And I get what you're saying. Not all boys and girls are exactly the same. I mean, you think they learned from the girl guru.
Oh my gosh, that girl guru. Oh yeah. I remember that. I remember so much of that one, but then again, somehow, you know what, never mind. I'll just save that one for another time. But anyway, this is as much I can say about one of the boys. I hope you guys actually got what you were looking for. I'm Taurean, formerly known as the Loud House Critic, and I'll see you guys another time.
Later, and thanks.
Oh!